Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, once hailed as the ultimate symbol of perfect union, continue to spark public curiosity about the invisible ties that bind them, even nearly a decade after their separation. It seemed as though each had chosen their own distinct path. Yet fatefully, Pitt's latest decision to expand his production company, Plan B, into London coincides in a striking way with Jolie's long-standing plan to leave Los Angeles and settle in the British capital once their twins, Knox and Vivienne, turn 18. Is this merely a coincidence in the global film industry, or does it conceal a deeper layer of unresolved connection between two people once so closely entwined? Could it be that Jolie, in her quest for freedom after divorce, will find herself forced to reconsider a carefully calculated roadmap spanning many years by Pitt's sudden presence in the very city she has chosen as her sanctuary? These questions hold the public and the press in thrall, for the Jolie-Pitt story has never been confined to the private sphere. It has always expanded into a mirror reflecting the contradictions, tensions, and uncertainties of celebrity life. It is worth recalling that Jolie has openly declared her intention to leave Los Angeles many times. In her eyes, the city no longer represents a home but a place of reluctant confinement, forced upon her by the protracted post-divorce legal battles. Her 2024 admission, "I am here because I have had to be here since the divorce, but when the children turn 18, I will finally be able to leave," painted a vivid portrait of a woman awaiting release. This is not merely a matter of relocation, but a symbolic act of severing ties with a painful past. Yet Pitt, long perceived as increasingly estranged from his children, especially his elder daughters who have resolutely dropped Pitt from their names, unexpectedly emerges in the very destination Jolie has set her sights on. For Jolie, London was not just a personal preference, but the outcome of lengthy discussions with her children, a city that all six agreed could become a shared refuge. So when Pitt declared London to be a bridge between the American and European film industries, observers could not help but speculate. Is he there purely for career expansion, or is this, consciously or not, a way of blocking Jolie's path? Here, the audience itself assumes the role of an emotional jury. They do not consume this narrative merely as entertainment, but rather scrutinize every detail in search of signs of an unspoken battle. Jolie selling her Los Feliz mansion for $24.5 million, Pitt holding on to his Hollywood Hills estate while extending his professional reach into Europe, the children distancing themselves from their father by dropping his surname, Knox maintaining minimal contact, and Vivienne, often noted as Pitt's closest likeness, choosing to stand beside her mother in a Broadway project, introduced pointedly as Vivienne Jolie. These fragments, when pieced together, reveal not just a story of family fracture, but a silent war, in which choices of name, residence, and even film industry affiliations become potent symbols of personal assertion. This article will delve deeper into that phenomenon. Why has London, meticulously prepared by Jolie as her promised land, suddenly become the city where both she and Pitt now converge? Why, after so many years of divorce, does Pitt's strategic career shift invite interpretations of an invisible collision with Jolie? And most crucially, within this intricate picture, what do the voices of their children, especially the younger generation like Shiloh and Vivienne, reveal about the emotional legacy and the fractures of the Jolie-Pitt family? Could it be that, for Pitt, Knox is not only the last son he can hold on to, but also a symbol of his longing for continuity? A fragile hope that fatherhood might not completely vanish within a family already fractured long ago. Placed in the present context, the irony becomes sharper. Angelina Jolie has long and openly declared her desire to leave Los Angeles, regarding the city as a burden after the divorce, a place where she was forced to stay, rather than a true home. London appeared to her as a promised land, not only fulfilling her personal wish, but also emerging as a destination her children could accept. She carefully planned for the day Knox and Vivienne would turn 18, so she could depart in a complete and final way. Yet, when Brad Pitt announced the opening of a new office for Plan B in London, this coincidence stirred unease. Was it merely a professional move, or also a deliberate way of preserving his presence in the very city Jolie had envisioned as a new homeland for her family? Within the larger family picture, the older children have already made their positions clear. Shiloh, upon turning 18, decisively filed to drop the Pitt surname from her legal documents, asserting independence as an act of self-definition. Zahara, in her public appearances, introduces herself only as Jolie. Maddox and Pax have long kept a pronounced distance from their father, rarely seen with him. Vivienne, the twin sister, collaborates with her mother on a Broadway production and presents herself as Vivienne Jolie. Against this backdrop, Knox, though the same age as Vivienne, has yet to take a definitive public stance. Instead, he occasionally appears alongside his mother, maintaining a quiet, reserved presence, without a silent declaration akin to that of his siblings. This ambiguity fuels public speculation. Is Knox deliberately carving out a middle ground, or simply waiting for the right moment to define his path? It is precisely here that Pitt seems to place his hopes. As his emotional bonds with his other children fall away one by one, Knox emerges as the final anchor. In a family of 6 children, 3 sons and 3 daughters, Knox is the youngest son, carrying both the symbolic weight of lineage and a personal significance for Pitt. It is no coincidence that many believe Pitt is especially reluctant to lose Knox. In him, Pitt sees a reflection of his younger self, quiet, reserved, inclined to observe more than to display. In Knox, Pitt perceives a chance to prove that, despite the ruptures, despite fading relationships, there still remains one unbroken thread. Yet here lies the first paradox: hope intertwined with anxiety. Pitt yearns to hold on to Knox, but Knox is growing up within an environment where Jolie's influence, along with that of his sisters, is overwhelming. Jolie is not only a mother, but also a figurehead, a spiritual compass for all 6 children. Each of Knox's sisters, from Zahara to Shiloh to Vivienne, has already chosen, or is in the process of choosing, to stand by her. In such a setting, can Knox sustain his neutrality indefinitely? Or will he, sooner or later, be compelled, like his siblings, to pick a side, a choice that could mean cutting ties with his father? The public, ever curious and eager to read between the lines of celebrity lives, scrutinizes every appearance Knox makes. When he is seen with his mother, they wonder if it signals another step away from Pitt. When he remains silent, unlike Shiloh or Zahara, speculation grows that he might still harbor some sympathy for his father. This ambiguity, far from diminishing interest, only heightens Knox's role as the focal point of countless theories. And within that very ambiguity, Pitt clings to a fragile hope that Knox may yet be the last one who has not turned his back. But then arises a second paradox. The more Pitt invests his hopes in Knox, the more vulnerable he becomes to disappointment. Knox cannot bear the burden of an entire broken family, nor can he become the healer of the profound rifts between his parents. The stark truth is that Knox is only a teenager, still in the process of forming his own identity under the weight of 2 powerful opposing influences. Any expectation placed upon him is already a heavy load, and in that tension, Knox's silence may itself be an unconscious strategy of self-preservation. Knox is not only Pitt's last hope, but also the clearest embodiment of a kind of Cold War within the family. Jolie has never openly prevented Knox from maintaining a relationship with his father, yet the broader context, shaped by the choices of his siblings, places Knox in an almost suffocating psychological circle. Pitt, no matter how much he wishes, cannot simply hold on to Knox. He must face the painful reality that every bond, every decision, ultimately belongs to the boy himself. This is a cruel paradox. A man wealthy, famous, and powerful, rendered powerless when it comes to securing a place in the hearts of his own children. What saddens fans of the Jolie-Pitt family even more is the stark contrast between 2 parallel images. Brad Pitt, increasingly estranged from his biological children, and Brad Pitt, seen more often alongside his much younger girlfriend. This contradiction highlights not only the generational divide between Pitt and his children, but also deepens the sense of disappointment felt by the public. Those who once hoped he would use this time to reconcile, to repair, even in fragments, the fragile threads of love binding him to his 6 children. From a psychological perspective, this touches on a raw nerve. Father-child bonds, already fractured by years of legal disputes and emotional distance, demand persistence, intimate conversations, private encounters, and above all, the patience of a father willing to listen. Yet, instead of the image of Pitt devoting his efforts to reconnecting with his children, what the public sees is a man appearing beside a new partner, youthful, captivating, but raising uncomfortable questions. Is Pitt seeking comfort elsewhere, while the most vital root relationship of his life quietly fades away? For years, the public has instinctively placed these 2 stars in contrast. Jolie, the mother seen as having sacrificed much to raise and stand by her children, versus Pitt, the father often accused of being consumed by his career and private life. When Pitt publicly embraced a relationship with a younger girlfriend, the image, rather than being welcomed as a fresh beginning, was interpreted by many as further proof of neglect. People easily connect the dots. Pitt buying new property, busy with plans to expand his company into London, smiling beside his partner, while his children one by one discard the Pitt surname, keep their distance, leaving only Knox still faintly tethered to him. For admirers, this juxtaposition becomes a hidden sorrow. They remember Pitt as the devoted father, cradling his children in his arms, joining Jolie in humanitarian missions, walking proudly with the entire family on the red carpet. Now that image seems to have dissolved, replaced by a Pitt still charming, still magnetic, but devoid of the presence of his children. From the audience's perspective, this is not merely the personal shift of a Hollywood star, but the collapse of a family ideal in which they had once invested their faith. What deepens this grief is the coexistence of two diverging lines. As the bond with his children fades, the relationship with his girlfriend becomes increasingly prominent in the media. This divergence creates the impression that Pitt is stepping away from the role of father to assume a new identity, a man free, romantic, and self-indulgent. Yet the price of this freedom, in the eyes of the public, is the loss of his place in the hearts of the very children he once cherished.